This video is supported by CuriosityStream. Finally, it's happening. NASA has started collaborating with the China National Space Administration on their exploration of the moon. As I said again and again on this channel, the Chinese are doing really well in space, and it's a pity that the two organizations have not worked with each other sooner. I'm really happy that the thing that brought people together is our common pursuit of technology and our curiosity of the world. But that's not what we're going to focus on today. What I want to focus on instead is the potential that this collaboration entails. So let's start by unraveling the really secretive Chinese Space Agency. To most people's surprise, the Chinese National Space Agency was founded less than 30 years ago in 1993. This, of course, does not mean that the Chinese do not have the capability of launching rockets before that. As many of you guys know, the early rockets are modified from ballistic missiles, and therefore, China acquired this ability in the early 1970s, right after their first successful test of a ballistic missile. It was called the Two Bombs, One Satellite project, initiated by the Premier of China at the time, Zhou Enlai himself. Two bombs referred to the atomic bomb and ballistic missiles. The reason why they're called two bombs is because of their common Chinese translation. 弹, 原子弹, which means atomic bomb, and 导弹, which means ballistic missiles. One satellite refers to the first satellite launched by the Chinese government. It took 4 years for the Chinese scientists to launch a satellite after they have grasped the missile technology, making China the fifth country to have done so after the former Soviet Union, the United States, France, as well as Japan. And to the despair of the Chinese scientists, what accompanied this period of rapid growth was actually the Cultural Revolution, which halted the Chinese space project. If you look at the development of the Chinese launch capability, you can see very clearly that there was a vacuum in the 1970s when everyone in China was embroiled in this revolution and only 6 launches in total were performed. After Deng took over in the late 70s and China went on with its economic reform, rocket launches finally pick up steam. It culminated last year with 39 launches in total, topping the charts among all countries. All of these events lead us to today, the collaboration between NASA and the Chinese National Space Agency on their moon missions. The Chinese landing of Chang'e 4 is consequential in many ways. It is the second soft landing on the moon in the last 40 years. The previous ones were launched by the United States and the USSR in the 70s. Secondly, Chang'e 4 is also the first landing on the far side of the moon, which is much harder to do because information on Earth cannot reach there without a relay satellite. It's like sending a beam of light to the far side of the moon with a mirror. Without it, soft landing would not be possible. The mirror in this analogy is the relay satellite Queqiao, which was sent to the halo orbit in the middle of 2018. This landing is also consequential in proving to NASA the unique value of collaborating with CNSA. To be honest, if you ask me, does NASA have to work with China on its moon missions? My answer would be no. At the moment, most capabilities CNSA has, NASA has as well. But could NASA use some help from the Chinese in this case? Yes, in understanding the specific landing site possibilities for future moon missions. Therefore, the intention of this collaboration is purely scientific. Since you guys have done something that we want to do in the future, would you share with us more information regarding that? And the Chinese replied yes, and I love that. What I love more is the possibility of more collaborations in the future. Here are some of them. First and foremost is the Next Generation International Space Station. Currently, the International Space Station has astronauts from Russia, and Germany, the States, and even smaller countries like Malaysia. I really can't see why the International Space Station could not host a Chinese astronaut. Well, a Chinese national. With the current space station retiring in 2024, this could be the beginning of the Chinese and the United States space collaboration. And my prediction is that it's very likely, assuming the current trade war does not go on forever. The reason is simple. When the first International Space Station was conceived in 1998, China was not a big space power or a world power. It had a GDP 1/9 that of the United States, and its launch force was insignificant comparing to the United States and the Russia capability. Therefore, China cannot contribute as much to the station building. But the time has changed. China is now one of the 3 countries with manned space capability, and it had even built its own space station called Tiangong. This time, China can contribute not only money, but also technology to the International Space Station 2.0. The second benefit of working together with the Chinese Space Agency is the logic that despite China and the United States has intense economic conflict right now, it is on the frontier of human exploration of the universe that we can all work together. In this case, the exploration of the moon, and in the future, the colonization of Mars. Increasingly, the Chinese possess valuable information for space exploration that NASA needed. The valuable information regarding landing on the far side of the moon is what propelled the collaboration this time, but in the future, as China sends its spacecraft to Mars and beyond, there will be more for collaboration. China has its eyes set on Mars exploration in the 2020s, coinciding with NASA's Journey to Mars project. So clearly, both countries have a lot to gain by working together. And lastly, the road to cooperation has been really bumpy ever since 2011. There is a China exclusion policy of NASA that has long been an inhibitor of collaboration. It prohibits NASA from cooperating with China in any bilateral way. Personally, I do not like it, especially with the scent of politics that politicizes science and technology. Many American scientists have criticized this and protested this measure as well. But the fundamental change to the two countries' dynamics this time is that China do have something to offer, and the collaboration becomes mutually beneficial as opposed to the unilateral beneficial for China. I think this change in dynamics and strength would foster collaborations for the years to come, which would be a great news for space lovers. Although it's not to say that there aren't legitimate concerns about technology transfer, which is why NASA is banned from working with China in the first place, but certainly not an excuse for delaying humanity's future. At the very least, the decision on what information and technology can be shared and what can't should be made with the scientists at NASA as well, not just by some congressmen in Washington. Here's the thing, China has been working with the Germans, Russians, the European Space Agency on its space research for a long time. The United States has been doing the same thing. As China becomes stronger in space technology, NASA inevitably will have to work with the CNSA for its future space endeavors. I'm happy that it happened this time, and most importantly, I do believe that our common pursuit of technology and science should transcend politics, nationality, and whatever trade dispute they have. Because on this frontier, we all want the same thing: expanding the boundaries of human knowledge. Unless you're Elon Musk, of course, in which case you would want to colonize Mars and make human species multiplanetary, and I'm super excited about it, and most of us on this channel are. On the other side of exploring our universe is a much darker possibility. Somewhere in a galaxy far, far away, there could be a more advanced civilization trying hard to find us. Our sponsor CuriosityStream offers over 2,000 documentaries from some of the world's best filmmakers, explains exactly that possibility. This episode on the mysterious signal coming from the deep space, for example, is a great documentary that does that.
A team of astronomers has detected a series of devastating, high-energy bursts, erupting from an unknown source far off in space.
We've been absolutely confident that these are extragalactic sources.
The signals keep coming.
My buddy at CuriosityStream also offered you guys a 31-day free trial. All you need to do is to sign up with the link in the description down below with the code CuriousElephant. Once your free trial is up, they only charge $19.99 a year, which is $1.67 a month. So start binge watching and learning today with CuriosityStream. Hey, do you think NASA should be working with China on the future of space exploration? Most importantly, what are the areas do you think both countries should be working on together? And what are the areas that NASA should refrain from working with China? It's such a very interesting question, and I would love to explore a little bit more in the future, so I would love your input in the comment section down below. Also, I want to thank 3 of you guys for joining me on Patreon. Cass Robin Giles, Paul Dean, and Noah Colleen. Thank you for supporting me on Patreon. Do stick around, and if you have any questions, do ask me on Patreon and interact with me over there. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.